Hello and welcome to this Taking Time with Tasha, where today I'm continuing to work on this pair of jeans that had a hole in them and needed repairing. In the previous video, I was working on putting the weft fibres back into the area, which are the white stitches you can see on the horizontal here. And now I'm just working to put the warp fibres back in. You can see there the original damage of the item, which we've already begun to repair. This repair has got me thinking about how much time it takes to do this sort of work. This here is probably about an hour's worth of stitching condensed down into a little over 8 minutes, where I've really just focused on showing the exciting bit of the stitches, the pulling through of each of the stitches and the forming of each line. And with practice and care and attention, obviously there comes a point that you can speed up your stitching too for this sort of hand process work. However, there does come a point where you plateau and you simply can't do it any faster, which is part of the beauty and the skill of hand worked on items. But particularly in this country, with hand worked on items, therefore they are going to cost a certain amount if the maker is going to be paid properly for their work and the time that that work has taken. And so even when I'm doing the machine embroidery part of my job, there is a lot of practice and experience that has gone into the work that's come before that particular piece that I'm working on. And so it does need to be able to cost a certain amount to make it worthwhile doing. And unfortunately, we don't really have much respect for the arts, it would seem, in my opinion. A lot of the time, people are expected to do their art just for the love of the art and not because it is their job or their business. And that does seem fundamentally wrong to me. I'm very lucky that I get to do something that I enjoy so much, but equally it is my job and it is a skill and a service, and therefore I feel like people should be okay with paying craftspeople properly for their work. It's a bit of a contentious subject, and that makes it sound like we charge extraordinary amounts for embroidery, which I don't think we do. We go at great pains to try and price things fairly based on the amount of time that it would take to do that job and the materials required to do that job. And that's what makes up the price, effectively. We end up having discussions, particularly with members of the public who don't realise how much goes into this sort of thing, where they'll bring in, say, a very expensive luxury item, something perhaps branded that we know is worth relatively a lot of money, and they'll often express how lovely it is that we get to do this sort of thing as a job, and we are very lucky, and it's a really lovely thing to be able to do. But then when it comes to the quote of how much that's going to cost, they'll often be like, oh wow, that's a lot more than I was thinking. I could get it cheaper elsewhere. To which, yeah, you probably could. But we believe we'll do you a good job and we can do it relatively quickly. So this is what the price will be with us. And often after a little bit of humming and hawing, they will go ahead with the job regardless, which says to me that either the other place that they've had quoted, I'm sure, would also do them a good job, but perhaps they don't have as much confidence in it, or perhaps they can't get it turned around in the time that they need it in. Or perhaps they felt like they weren't getting the same sort of service there, all to which really, for me, warrants giving that price in the first place. And so when they pay for it and have obviously had the money to pay for this luxury item as well, it leads me to wonder why they were so argumentative over the work being done and the price that was given for it. Because it's not really about affordability, but they have a problem paying direct to the maker almost. Which does bother me that we just don't have that sort of respect for the arts in this country. People don't want to pay people to do the thing that they are skilled at for the price that it is worth, in my opinion. The other end of the spectrum that also comes up is those who come to us with an item that is, really on the economy end of production. It will perhaps be, say, a logo, for example, and there's nothing wrong with having logos put on t-shirts. It's our bread and butter, and that's not a problem. I've got no problem with doing that sort of work. But they want it put on a really cheap t-shirt, and then they'll go, oh, well, I'm not paying that price for it. The t-shirt's only worth £3. I mean, number one, no t-shirt should be worth £3. That is a broken system right there. If everyone could be made to try and make a t-shirt at least once in their lives, perhaps people would realise just how much effort and time and skill goes into even making something as simple as a t-shirt. And it beggars belief that even the materials can be costed and made a profit on at £3. That is madness. But of course it's not worth investing however much it costs to do the embroidery for us to go onto that t-shirt, because that t-shirt's not made to last, and our embroidery will outlast the t-shirt. So there's a real discrepancy between the item and the skills being applied to it. It doesn't make sense. And so I always think that if we could just try and apply buying from places that, are probably at the upper end of what we can afford, but have that little bit more longevity to them, we would generally do a lot better. And we need to foster a bit more of a relationship of respect for the makers. We have a great respect, I think, for designers in general. If you are a designer of something and you create the concept, people are happy to bow down to that and it be this amazing thing. But when it comes to the maker, we just don't apply that same respect at all. And even with the machine side of things, there really is so much experience, and that counts for so much when it comes to the confidence to actually go ahead and push the button and frame something up and actually make it happen. Anyway, that's just a few thoughts that I've been having whilst working on this piece. Let me know below what you've been working on in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. That's all from me for now.